Hello.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Development Control meeting this evening. My name is Marilyn Proctor. I'm a councillor for Haslingden Ward. Keep dropping back into that. My apologies. And I chair the meeting. So I'm going to go through introductions after I've just reminded everybody that the meeting is now being live streamed. And I'm going to go to councillors and ask them to introduce themselves, please.
Councillor Jimmy Eaton, Bacup Ward.
Daniel Ashworth, Britannia and Email.
Anne Hotchkiss Helmshaw.
Julie Adshead, Whitewell and Stacksteads.
And officers, please.
Stone Grimshaw, Senior Planning Officer.
Claire Bradley, Senior Planning Officer.
James Dalglish, Principal Planning Officer.
Yasmin Ahmed, Principal Legal Officer.
Okay, thank you for that. Just a reminder about housekeeping that there's no plans for a fire alarm test this evening. If the alarm does sound, please use the clearly marked fire exits and assemble towards the right rear corner of the car park. Toilets are situated in the breakout area where you came in, and can I ask that all mobile phones are switched off or placed on silent, and ask that there's no private conversations taking place while the items are being discussed. Can I remind committee and speakers to speak into the microphone at all times so that those live streaming can hear the meeting? Thank you. So, the order of the agenda, I'll be taking items in the order they appear on the agenda. Just a reminder about procedure for public speaking. It's one person against for 4 minutes, one person in favour for 4 minutes, 4 minutes for councillors, and you'll be told when there's a minute left of your time. If you've come for a particular item and you want to leave after that, that's fine. But can I ask that you do so quietly and you use the door towards the back of the room, as we'll be moving on to the next items on the agenda. Lobbying registers available for everybody to view, and committee will not accept any notes being passed. So with that, we'll move on to the agenda. So there are no apologies for absence this evening. Everybody's here. Thank you. A2 were minutes of the previous meeting held on the 3rd of March 2026. I'll move those.
I'll second those, Chair.
Okay, all those in favour, please show. Thank you, those are agreed. Item A3 on the agenda, declarations of interest. Anybody got anything? No? Okay, move on then. Item A4, urgent items.
There aren't any.
Okay, thank you. So before we move on to the applications, can I just remind you that planning officers will only be outlining the statutory points and any additional information relevant for each planning application. Once the registered speakers have addressed the committee, members of the committee may then, if necessary, through me as chairperson, ask for clarification on points raised in the representation to committee. This does not apply to representations made by councillors. No other questions or clarifications should be sought by committee members. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to planning application B1, which is 2025-0438, Bacup Market, Union Street, Bacup. This is your story?
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Okay.
The application seeks to regenerate Bacup Market and parts of the surrounding public realm in the heart of Bacup Town Centre and the Bacup Conservation Area. The proposal would redevelop the market through partial demolition of some of the existing buildings on site, demolition of the open stalls, refurbishment of 12 retained stalls on the eastern side, the creation of a new public market square for community and market events and informal leisure, the erection of a large canopy over the retained stalls and parts of the new public square, and the erection of a new cafe building with public toilets. The application has been submitted following with the withdrawal of the previous planning application to regenerate the market, and there is a revised and scaled back scheme compared to the previous proposal. Regeneration of the market and improvements to the public realm were identified as key projects within the council's successful bid for funding from the government's Levelling Up Fund, and the proposed projects form a key part of the council's Bacup 2040 vision. 2 representations have been received in total, 1 in support of the scheme and 1 neutral. The issues raised have been covered under section 7 of the committee report. No objections were received to the application. The principle of regenerating and modernising the market in its existing location is strongly supported by national and local planning policy Officers consider the proposal will strengthen the vitality and viability of Bacup Town Centre and support town centre regeneration objectives set out in the local plan and the Bacup 2040 vision. Enhance and strengthen the retail and food and drink offer at the market and increase its commercial attractiveness and viability. Improve footfall, visibility and permeability of a market which is underutilised and has an enclosed appearance and poor configuration, and provide a new and visually attractive community space at the heart of the town centre with a large canopy that could serve as a focal point and sheltered space for civic events. Although the number of market stalls on site would be reduced as part of the development, it is not considered that the potential loss of retail floor space available to the market would harm the vitality and viability of Bacup Town Centre. As such, it is considered that the development accords with the relevant national and local planning policies relating to retail development. In terms of heritage matters, as originally submitted, the Council's heritage advisors concluded that the development would result in a limited level of less than substantial harm to the Bacup Conservation Area, on account of the obscure views within the site from the canopy and the use of timber for the canopy frame. Historic England also concluded that the size of the canopy, as originally submitted, would harm the character and appearance of the conservation area. Neither consultee identified harm to the setting of any listed buildings or non-designated heritage assets. In response to the consultee's comments, the applicant lowered the height of the canopy and substantiated the use of timber as opposed to steel on the basis that steel does not feature widely in the historic centre of Bacup, and timber is more complementary to the materials found in the surrounding built environment. Based on the reduced height of the canopy, Historic England confirmed they had no objection to the development and were satisfied the application meets the requirements of national heritage planning policies. Growth Lancashire concluded the reduced height of the canopy was a positive alteration, but remained of the view that the proposal would result in a limited level of less than substantial harm to the conservation area. In regards to design, visual amenity and landscaping considerations, it's considered the proposal will enhance the appearance of the market and introduce a high-quality public open space designed to host market and community events with new areas of seating and planting. The proposal would significantly improve the permeability of the site, and the enhancements to the public realm would be a positive for this town centre. The proposed canopy, while somewhat unusual in this historic setting, would provide users with shelter and will not unduly detract from the character and appearance of the local area. The proposed cafe building would primarily make use of natural stone and natural slate on the roof, and its overall design would respond to the character of the area. Officers are satisfied that the proposed scheme would not unduly harm the amenity of any neighbouring uses or residents nearby, and the Council's environmental health team have been consulted and they have raised no objection. The proposed scheme has been revised to address some of the concerns raised by the local highway authority, and they have confirmed they have no objection to the scheme, subject to conditions. It has also been agreed that potential alterations to the highway will be addressed separately under the Section 278 process, and any TROs will also be pursued separately. The proposed mobility impaired parking spaces have been removed from the proposed site plan as their location raised concerns for the highway authority. However, to ensure 2 mobility impaired parking spaces will be secured as part of the development, the applicant has agreed to the inclusion of a planning condition to secure the approval of a scheme prior to first use of the development. Matters relating to flood risk, drainage, land contamination, coal mining legacy issues, ecology, trees and climate change are all acceptable, subject to conditions. In arriving at a recommendation of the proposal, national and local planning policy requires a balancing exercise to be carried out with the public benefits of the proposal weighed against a limited level of less than substantial harm identified to the conservation area. In summary, it is not considered that the harm identified would outweigh the public benefits of the scheme, which, when considered as a whole, would deliver substantial net public benefits. On this basis, it is recommended that members approve the application, subject to the conditions recommended in the committee report and the further update report published earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you, Storm. We have registered speakers on this item. There's nobody registered to speak against, but we've got Mr. G registered to speak for the application. Mr. G, if you'd like to come forward, and when you're ready to start your presentation, we'll start the timer at that time. No, just... That's it.
Right, okay. Good evening, everyone. Storm's just said everything I wanted to say, really. But, I'd like to start by thanking your officers, especially Storm, for working so diligently and professionally on this application. That's most appreciated. And you got before your comprehensive and well-balanced committee report, which I think covers all of the issues very well. So I can be quite brief, I think. So as you heard, this proposal is all about revitalising and reinvigorating Bacup Market and indeed Bacup as a town. And as you know, right now, the market is tucked away, it's inward-looking, hidden, and it's struggling. And in some respects, it's a place that many people are not actually aware of or simply pass by. Over the years, in common with many markets, footfall has fallen and traders have reduced. So this scheme looks to turn that around and re-energise the site. So, excuse me, it opens up the space and it creates an excellent quality new civic square capable of accommodating not just the market, but special community events. It creates clear views and better connections with the town around it. It replaces something that's hidden with something that will be very visible, welcoming, and hopefully vibrant. It retains all trees. It introduces new trees and landscaping. It's respectful, very respectful, I'd suggest, of Bacup's excellent heritage, the conservation area in which it sits, and the listed buildings close by. It retains, refurbishes, and refreshes 12 existing market stalls. It introduces a striking canopy feature to create covered space and facilitate special events. It provides a new cafe with public toilets and an outdoor terrace. It provides lighting for both safety and security purposes and to enable events to take place in the evenings. And it also provides steps down from Market Street, which will incorporate stepped seating. It's proposed that the market will generally operate 5 days a week, likely from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. However, it is expected that the new plaza or the square will accommodate both daytime and evening functions. For example, foodie markets or special events such as Christmas tree lighting. Ultimately, the proposal seeks to create a place where people actually want to spend time in, a successful and vibrant market, and helping to foster civic pride in what is actually a very fine town. Storm in his report set out a thorough policy analysis, so I don't think I need to delve into specific policies, but in simple terms, this proposal is very much policy compliant. It's also 100% consistent with the Bacup 240 vision, which highlights explicitly the underused market and promotes a redefined, prosperous market with a strong reputation, drawing in new visitors. Thank you for letting me speak.
Committee, are there any points you'd like clarifying on what Mr. G has explained to you this evening? Jimmy?
Just one, could you confirm what colour this canopy is going to be?
It's timber. It's a timber laminate product, so it's timber. It looks like timber.
Just going to be timber then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other points, clarification from committee? No, thanks, Mr. G.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you. Okay, committee, over to yourself. Have you got any questions for officers? Julie, sorry.
Thank you. Just want to clarify the impact on the heritage assets. Am I right in understanding that it's considered there is no impact upon nearby listed buildings, but some limited impact on the conservation area? And just a second question following up from that, I'm just wondering why Historic England still have reservations, given that the level of the canopy has been lower. Thank you.
On that second point, Historic England have withdrawn their objection. It was only our own Heritage Advisors, Growth Lancashire, who basically act as our conservation officer.
Right, so they've withdrawn their objections.
Yeah, Historic England withdrew their objection, but our own conservation officers, despite the reduction in the size of the canopy, they still had concerns just because of obscured views from within the conservation area being obscured slightly by the canopy, despite its reduction. Okay. And they would have preferred steel posts and a steel frame rather than the timber. Because they're our conservation officers and non-designated heritage assets, both consultees were satisfied. There was no impact on those.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie. Jimmy?
Just one. Sorry, I've actually confirmed now on disabled parking spaces. Has that been addressed?
It's been addressed, but it's not been confirmed in terms of their location and where they can exactly go. But there is now a condition added to the report that will require a scheme to be submitted for approval for 2 spaces, and 2 were proposed originally.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for officers? You're happy to move to the vote?
Proposed recommendation.
Okay. Right, Jimmy, second?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then. So nobody's got anything else they want to ask? Happy to move, everybody's happy to move to the vote? Just clarify that. So if you're voting in favour, you're voting to be minded to grant planning permission as per the officers' recommendations, including any conditions included in the report and further update reports. In the update report, it's detailed in there that the extra wording regarding the disabled spaces in there to make sure that those are protected. So if you're all happy with that, all those in favour, please show. Okay, that's unanimous. So that's approved this evening. Thank you. With that, we move on to item B2, which I've got lost. So item B2 is 2025-0460 Lavender Hills Care Home, Stubbins Vale.
Thank you, Chair. The application relates to Lavender Hills Care Home, a long-established care home which occupies a former Victorian mill owner's mansion located off Stubbins Vale Road in Ramsbottom, in an area of countryside designated as Greenbelt. Some members present may recall that planning permission was granted in September 2024 for a major extension to the care home, providing 48 additional ensuite bedrooms, 4 extra care apartments, and new communal and publicly accessible facilities, including a salon, cafe bistro, and other amenities. That permission remains live, and therefore the acceptability of the development has already been established. This application seeks to vary a number of conditions attached to the original planning permission to allow revised plans and supporting details to be approved. According to the submission, the proposed changes are required following detailed design work to ensure compliance with the Building Safety Act and current building regulations, particularly in respect of fire safety regulations. Without these changes, the approved scheme could not be safely delivered. The main amendments relate to the internal layout and technical compliance and include the relocation of stair and lift cores to gable ends, relocation of stairs to the corridor ends, additional and repositioned fire doors, adjustments to floor plans for fire safety and structural alignment, introduction of plant rooms and surface risers, and minor increases to the building footprint and floor space. It's important to note the following will remain unchanged from the original scheme: the number of approved bedrooms and apartments, car parking, access and servicing arrangements, and the overall form, height and general appearance of the development. In terms of the conditions to be varied, to reflect the changes proposed, a number of conditions will be varied, and this includes condition 2, which is the approved plans and documentation, and this is to reflect the revised drawings and updated documents. Condition 3, which relates to materials, and this is to allow a suitable alternative reconstituted stone as the original product is unavailable, and to allow a sample of the new cladding to be submitted. Condition 4, which relates to landscaping, and this is to reference the updated landscaping strategy. And condition 19, drainage and flood risk, which is basically to update the assessment reflecting the revised layout. And condition 27, the biodiversity net gain plan, and this is to update the minor increase in the site area and footprint of the building and the subsequent changes to the relevant documentation. In dealing with this application, proposing minor amendments to the scheme already approved, it is necessary to only consider the potential impact the proposed amendments would have on the Greenbelt and not the development as a whole, as this was assessed under the original application. In this case, it is considered that the proposed amendments would not result in any significantly greater reduction of openness in both visual and spatial terms than the scheme already approved, and the degree of harm to the Greenbelt remains similar to that identified under the previous application. In terms of design, landscape and visual impact, the overall form and appearance of the care home extension remains broadly the same, and any additional bulk is largely below ground level and not visually prominent. The historic building formerly known as the Cliff, which forms part of the care home, is a non-designated heritage asset. The Council's heritage consultant raises no objection to the amendments, and therefore we're satisfied that there's no heritage concerns. In terms of trees and ecological matters, no additional trees are required to be removed. In terms of biodiversity net gain, officers are satisfied that at least 10%, the mandatory requirement, can still be achieved on site. All other ecological safeguards remain secured by condition. In terms of access, highways and parking matters, no changes to the access or parking requirements are proposed, and the Highway Authority raises no objection. Similar in terms of flood risk and drainage, the lead local flood authorities raised no objection to the revised details. And in terms of residential amenity, no additional impact over and above the scheme already approved would occur from the changes proposed. In terms of representations, one objection has been received and it's raised concerns regarding trees, drainage and landscape impact, but officers are satisfied these issues are adequately addressed by the updated assessments and conditions with no material increased impacts from that already approved. In conclusion, the principle of development has already been established. The proposed amendments are necessary, minor in planning terms, and do not materially alter the impact of the approved scheme. And the changes ensure the scheme can be delivered in compliance with modern fire safety and care standards. Therefore, members are recommended to grant planning permission subject to the updated and reimposed conditions set out in the committee report.
Sorry about that. We've no registered speakers on this item, so committee, it's over to yourselves. Anne?
Have you had sight of the new artificial stone that they're going to be using?
Not yet, but it's going to be similar in style to the previously approved stone.
But they're going to give you a sample?
Yeah, they'll still submit a sample. It's just that the stone that they previously proposed has been discontinued, so they just need to change it.
Yeah, excuse me. In the only one representation for objections, it says increased loss of trees. Now, you've actually stated there's no more trees.
No,
So, has there any been removed prior to this or not?
no clearance has been made, and no commencement has been made on the original planning permission.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Any other points committee like clarifying? You happy to move to the vote? Okay, well, I'll move the officer's recommendations. Somebody. Okay. So just to confirm, if you're voting in favour, you're voting to be minded to grant planning permission as per the officer's recommendations, including any conditions included in the report. All those in favour, please show. Okay, so that's everybody. That's unanimous. Thank you. And apologies for the coughing. No, I've got one, thank you. It's just a tickle that won't go. So if we move on to item B3 on the agenda, which is 2025-053592, Beaconsfield Street, Haslingden.
This application is a retrospective permission for boundary and security fencing on wooden posts to prevent ongoing fly tipping on land adjacent to 16 Beaconsfield Street. And it's before you tonight because it's been called in by a member, and there've been 3 or more objections to it. In terms of site context, the site previously consisted of a stone-built warehouse used as a furniture store, which was demolished in 2018 after a fire, and it's been vacant since then and subject to persistent fly tipping. It's within the urban boundary, and part of the site is in the Haslingden Conservation Area. So in terms of consultation responses, Growth Lancashire have advised that terrace fencing is generally inappropriate in the conservation area. However, that harm can be outweighed by the public benefit of preventing fly tipping on a short-term basis. LCC Highways have no objections and have advised if the fencing encroaches on an adopted highway, then a temporary stopping up order will be required. In terms of public representation, the main concerns raised are loss of parking and access issues, prevents access to nearby homes and bin collections, loss of an informal play space, land ownership queries, fencing already erected, and the site has been vacant for years and should remain open. So in terms of the assessment for the application, in principle, the application is acceptable, there's a clear need in Haslingden to prevent fly tipping in the area. In terms of heritage, there's minor harm to the conservation area due to the modern fencing. However, the public benefits, the preventing dumping and securing the site temporarily outweigh the harm. And the temporary nature of the application lessens the impact. In terms of residential amenity, no demonstrable harm identified, and the land is privately owned and the fencing doesn't harm the living conditions of any neighbours. In terms of access and highways, we've had revised plans that are considered acceptable, and there's no adverse impact on safety or parking identified by LCC highways. So in terms of the conclusion, the harm to heritage is minor and outweighed by the public benefit. There's no impact on amenity or highway safety, and the proposal complies with both the local plan and the NPPF. So it's before you tonight to approve for a temporary period, and an additional condition has been included in the update report with regard to the access gates opening inwards into the site.
Thanks, Claire. Excuse me. We have registered speaker on this item. There's nobody registered to speak against the item, but Mr. Dad is registered to speak. You'd like to come forward. When you're ready, if you just turn the microphone on, and we'll tell you when you've got a minute left of your time.
Thank you. Thank you for this afternoon. I just want to clarify, because it's cost me a number of times to remove fly tipping on dog fouling on the land. And as I've turned up, there's kids playing and it's not safe for them to play on the land. So the only reason I want to do is put temporary fencing on before my application goes in for building a development site. And I want to do it within obviously the council regulations of if I need to change the fencing, I'm happy to change it. And I've got nothing else to say. Thank you.
If you just stay there, Mr. Dad, I'll just ask committee if they've got any points that they want you to clarify. Any points from Jimmy?
You just mentioned about the fencing.
Yeah.
Are children climbing over it? Is it secure or is it not at this moment?
Sorry, it will be secure once it's all fully secured off properly.
So it's not secure at this moment?
It's not this. It is what's on the moment is secure, but I need to finish it off. I was told to stop the work.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
You want to come in?
Thank you. So just to be clear, is fencing already erected around the site?
What is on site at the moment is erected, but I need to finish it off because I got told not to do any more work on it until the planning application was submitted. So I'm new to this. I'm sorry, but I did it.
Okay.
I'm just working with you. I want to work with you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Any other points for clarification? No, Mr. Dad, can I just ask you about you talked about future development of the site. How long do you think it would take before that came into being?
I am in the process speaking to my architect at the moment. We have put a pre-application in and they have got back to me. We're just working on that. That's all we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other points from committee? No. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Dad. Thanks for your contribution. You just turn the microphone off there. Oh, that's it. Thank you. Okay, committee, over to yourselves. Jimmy?
Thank you, Chair. On page 6, if we could ask the officer, access parking and highway safety. The third paragraph down, please. If you could comment on that first, please. The proposed plans showing a narrowing of the lane.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to turn it on.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was in relation to the initial plans that were submitted. So LCC Highways commented that the lanes should be 3.1 metres wide. So there's now been amended plans received, but if they do need to stop up part of the highway, they'll have to apply to LCC Highways for a temporary stopping up order. But yeah, that's not within the planning legislation, it's within the highway legislation.
Okay, thank you. And say, just to follow on from that, the record suggests that the lanes should be 3.1 metres and not 2.7 as shown on the revised plan. Is that correct?
With the there's been a new revision to the plans that show it as 3.1.
Yeah. Okay.
And those are the approved plans listed in the plan condition.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anne, did you want to come in?
Just on the temporary permission for 2 years, can that be reduced from 2 years to any less, or is that a statutory amount of time?
It's not a statutory amount of time, but what we need to do is take into account the length of time that it's going to take the application to submit the application, have it validated, have it determined potentially through committee, and then satisfy any pre-commencement before he can start work. So we've put in 2 years, but it could be shorter than that, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Right.
I
It was just, we asked the question the other night just because of we've got some empty sites in Hasling that have been empty for quite a while, just waiting for planning to be done. Just didn't want this to be another one of those sites, really. That was I don't know how long all the pre-application takes generally.
I would agree with Claire. I think 2 years is an appropriate period for it, given that once pre-application advice has been received, obviously the applicant will need to look at that advice with his architect, go through that design process, then submit an application. You've got various stages, validation, determination, perhaps coming back to committee, any revisions. I think it is I would consider that to be a reasonable period. And in any case, if things do move quicker, the fencing shouldn't stop that.
Yeah, no, fine. And just, it says it'll expire the 15th of April 2028, so that's the 2 years. What if his planning application hasn't gone through the process by that time? Would we extend it then, or?
We'd have to look at it at the time as to whether the application's even been submitted, or, you know, we'd have to look as whether it is expedient to take enforcement action at that point. So, but yeah, they could apply to extend it but once permission's been granted and they start work on the site, then they will need security fencing as part of that, and it'll be removed once the development's completed.
Thank you.
Can I just ask about the fencing? You refer to Heros fencing. Is that what we saw on the picture? And so it's going to be like that with the wooden stakes, and that's going to be all the way round.
Yes, that's correct. But there will be a gateway into the site, so which will be there for when they start development in the future to get construction materials onto the site.
And you're satisfied that that's visually appropriate?
Well, we considered hoardings at one point, but obviously that then obscures any view into the site. And I think in terms of the impact on the conservation area, with the fencing being see-through, it still allows you the views into and out of the conservation area.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions from committee? No, I'm happy to move to the vote then. Okay, well, I'll move the application if somebody will second that. Jimmy? Okay, thank you. So if you're voting in favour, you're voting to temporarily approve planning permission as per the officer's recommendations, including any conditions included in the reports and the update reports. And the update report relates to the gates opening inwards rather than outwards. So all those in favour, please show. Okay, that's everybody. So that's unanimous. That's approved this evening. Thank you. That concludes tonight's business. Thank you very much for your attendance and your participation. Thank you.